I know I shouldn't be crying, but it's just so heartbreaking to me. If I were on that ship, I would have just skinned her alive and then cooked her as I...
And I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party. Pink feel like I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I...
Hey girls! Oh hey Barbie. What's wrong with Dana? She just finished watching season 4 episode 8 of Attack on Titan. Oh, well, I know what would cheer her up. And what's that? Ikoxun's premiering a pink crochet video and I might be in it. Oh gosh. Girl, you think we care? You're the one obsessed with pink. Pink isn't an obsession. It's a lifestyle. Plus, it's not just about me. I hear Kitty's gonna be in it too. Kitty will be there? But that means... Didn't Toad cheat on you with Kitty? Yeah. Apparently, they're bringing their son to the premiere. What do you mean, son? We broke up a week ago. I don't like getting in the middle of drama, so I guess I'll just head on out. No way, Barbie. You're taking us to this premiere. Sasha, get in the car. Step on it, Barbie. That kid looks at least 4 years old. Dana? Barbie, where's Dana? Can you imagine me on that giant screen? Just imagine all the possibilities. I knew I should have went home, bruh. These people are getting on my... Mommy! Dana, what the hell? It's starting.
You need to leave.
Hi everyone! I hope you enjoyed that little intro that I made. I thought it was really fun to do and kind of made me feel like a little kid again, not gonna lie. Today we are doing pink crochet, and I know I probably should have posted this like around when the Barbie movie came out, because so many of you, and I mean so many of you, have asked me to do a Barbie themed video. But so many of you have also asked me to do different themes for the pink crochet video as well, like Coquette, Sanrio, etc. So I thought it would be cool to do a whole bunch of themes in this one video, which kind of broadens out the different ideas that I can think of. And this is also cool because it's the first time that I'm actually doing more than one theme for these types of videos. So if this goes well and you all like the different ideas that I come up with, then maybe it can be a recurring thing. Now, there is a lot of work that we have to do, so let's go ahead and get started. So this first design that I wanted to do is a Hello Kitty pillow. This is Hello Kitty in the middle, and this is a little heart behind her head. And then it's gonna be like this, basically a floor pillow like the one I made, which I'll have like a little photo right here. And then just little stripes on the sides. I don't know how big I want it to be, but just I guess whatever the yarn that I bought allows me to make. And yeah, I think it'd be really cute. This right here, I found a cute little grid pattern on Pinterest that I'm gonna be using, and hopefully that works. The next piece I have is a Coquette top. I thought it would be really cute because I see a lot of like Coquette inspired outfits with off the shoulder sweaters, and so I thought it would be cute to crochet one. I have no idea how this is gonna work. In my head it seems like a basic sweater with just like a folded over shoulder part, but we'll see when we start making it. And then the last piece is a little t-shirt. I don't know if this is gonna work, but I think it would be really cute if I made like a cute crochet t-shirt with either the Barbie face logo or the Barbie text logo. I feel like I'm gonna go with the Barbie logo instead of the little hair one, just cause it's more like broad, if that makes sense. The first piece in this pink crochet video is an off-the-shoulder sweater inspired by the Coquette aesthetic. The Coquette aesthetic consists of light pastel colors, lace and frilly details, dainty tops, cute bows, and more. For the off-the-shoulder sweater that I decided to do, I started with my arms because I was a bit scared for some reason to do the front and the back panels. I wasn't sure if I should make a tube top or just do it separately, so I just went with making the arms first. I chained 81 and I thought the length was good for a slightly oversized sleeve. Measuring it out, it came out to be 25 inches before stretching.
For the arms, all I did was work one row of half double crochet for the first row, and then for the remaining rows I worked half double crochet in the back loop only. This gives it the ribbed effect I was looking for. While working on the sleeve, I kept bringing it up to my arm to make sure I wasn't going over the amount of rows I needed. I ended up with 30 rows, which made the sleeve flowy and a bit wide at the wrist, but fitted at the top of my arm. After I ended the first sleeve, I went ahead and repeated this pattern for the second.
Hi. I finished both of the sleeves for the Coquette top, and it's really soft and very flowy and stretchy and bouncy. The way I think will make the sweater look really cute. I was a bit worried if because it's kind of fitted right here, but I think that's a good thing because it'll help it stay up. And then on the sleeves, or at the end of the sleeves, it's really flowy and sort of oversized, just how I like it. It looks really cute. I finished the sleeves and I have no choice but to work on the body. I'm kind of scared, but I think what I'm gonna do is 2 panels, like the same way that I do all of my sweaters, either knit or crochet. I'm gonna make a front panel and a back panel. Usually I do a little shoulder decrease, but since it's off the shoulder, I'm not gonna do that. I think I'm just gonna make it just 2 squares, that's it. I was thinking of doing it as a tube top, just making the panel wrap all around, but that's not gonna give the sweater vibe that I'm going for. I want it to be kind of baggy a little bit, but not dramatically. And I feel like if I make a tube top, it's gonna be very fitted, and it's not gonna be the look that I'm going for. After the sleeves were done, I had no choice but to start with the body of the sweater. I kept falling asleep while working on the front panel though, so I ended up calling it a night. The next day, I finished up both the front panel and the back panel, which were both a chain of 65 and worked for 35 rows with half double crochet in the back loop only. The length of the front and the back panels were 19.5 inches, and when holding it up to my chest, stopped around my waist. I have all the panels finished for this sweater, and none of them are attached just yet because I was trying to figure out how exactly I wanted to attach it at the top so that when I do the off the shoulder section, it will work. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to slip stitch all of the panels together, the front and the back panel together on the sides, the arms on the sides, and then what I'm thinking is going ahead and working around for the off the shoulder part. I don't know if this is gonna work, but I think it might, because I don't know, we're gonna have to see. I first slip stitched the sides of the arms together by inserting my hook into both sides and attaching my yarn. I then slip stitched each stitch together until the end of the sleeve, where I chained 1, cut the yarn, and pulled to secure. I then pulled the sleeve inside out and repeated this for the second sleeve. I also repeated the same thing for the front and the back panels, making sure they aligned evenly before slip stitching both of the long sides together. Once everything was slip stitched together, I tried on the body of the sweater and the sleeves, and it was a bit big. I was thinking it was okay since I could just tighten it at the top when I add the top ribbing, but just in case, I decided to take off one side of the slip stitching, take 4 rows off of one of the panels, and then slip stitched it back up. This time when I tried on the sweater body, it stayed on a lot better and still gave the oversized look I was going for. I took some stitch markers and placed one in the corner where I wanted the sleeves to attach, and then did the same thing to the back of the sleeve so that I knew where to slip stitch the sleeves onto the body of the sweater. I then took off the sweater, placed my hook into the stitch marker stitch, and slip stitched down to the second marker. After slip stitching into the last stitch marker stitch, I chained 1, cut the yarn, and pulled to secure. The sleeve was attached to the body of the sweater, and after, I went ahead and repeated this to the second sleeve. I tried on the sweater again, and the sleeves were absolutely perfect to me. To start the little ribbing flap section, I first attached my yarn to the side of the top of the arm, chained 1, and did 1 row of single crochet, making sure to skip every other stitch to tighten up the top a bit. There isn't any defined stitches for this, but I'm just skipping one space where I could have added a single crochet. For the little corner where the sleeve was attached, I just skipped over the stitch it was attached to and continued to single crochet normally. Before finishing off the single crochet row, I tried on the sweater once more to make sure it was going okay and the top was more fitted just like I hoped. Once I got to the end of the row, instead of joining in the round, I chained 1 and turned my work.
I switched to a 4.5mm hook and then began to work half double crochets into the back loop of each stitch until the end of the row, where I repeated chain 1, turning my work and working half double crochets in the back loops only. I did this for a couple rows before not liking how it was turning out.
So I've done a couple rows so far, and I like to turn it over to see how far it's going down, and I kind of noticed that when I turned it over, like on this side it's fine, it looks perfectly fine because it's not connected, but because this side's connected, it's kind of like rounding up a bit, and I don't like that. So I think I'm gonna either do two things. I'm either gonna take this apart and then do two separate panels, so I'll work from right here to right here and go back and forth until it's the size that it needs, and then attach my yarn to go from here to here and then go back and forth until it's the length that I need, and then like maybe add like a cute bow once it's long enough. Or I will make a separate panel and then slip stitch or sew it on, but I think it'll still kind of be rounded, so I might just do the first thing and then just have some bows on the side.
So I decided to unravel the half double crochets until the first row of half double crochets and made sure it stopped at the halfway point on the sweater, around the same area that the half double crochet started on the other side. I then chained 1, turned my work, and began working half double crochets in the back loop until it reached the length I desired. I didn't like how this came out either, so I just decided to create separate panels of back loop only half double crochet to attach to the front and the back, leaving a bit of a gap on the sides of the arms. For this, I did a total of 55 rows for the front flap and 40 rows for the back flap. Once they were done, I slip stitched them onto the top of the body of the sweater, and thankfully, I liked how these came out. I weaved in all my ends and folded the flap over the sweater so it could hang off the shoulders properly. This was a last minute decision, but I decided to take some pink ribbon that was 1/4 of an inch by 10 yards and tied it where the gaps of the shoulder flaps were. I then also added some ribbon to my tapestry needle and weaved it in and out around the bottom of the sleeve before tying the ribbon there as well. Once that was done, the Coquette sweater was complete. Here is the first piece of this video, which is this Coquette themed off the shoulder sweater. I would have preferred this type of sweater to be knitted just because I like the look of knit ribbed more than crochet ribbed. However, I still think this came out incredibly cute. I really like how even though I messed up on this area, I still decided to do like little slits on the side and then added bows to it, which makes it really cute. And I am happy that I added bows to the sleeves as well. It just adds more Coquette characteristics to the sweater. And this is what the back looks like. And I paired it with this denim skirt because I don't have any pink in my wardrobe. Now I do because I finished this, but before, the only pink that I had in my wardrobe was my Hello Kitty leg warmers that I made in a previous video. So I'm happy that I have this. It's actually really, really cute, actually. Making this has made me realize that I'm starting to fall in love with pink. And like, before, I would never really gravitate towards pink or anything, but making this just made me realize that like, this is a really pretty color. And I would like to get more of light pinks and like pastel pinks in my wardrobe because I don't really like hot pink or anything. But this is really cute. The next piece is Barbie themed, which I thought a cute Raglan crop top with a Barbie logo in the middle would fit perfectly. Because I've never created anything Raglan before, I needed help, so I found a video from Sherilyn Q that explains how exactly to start a Raglan piece, in which I followed to start the chain. For my measurements specifically, I started with a chain of 54 and joined it in the round. I then did the math that she states to do and added stitch markers to the 9th, 19th, 36th, and 46th stitches. Here's what I have for the neckline so far. It looks like it's pretty small, but I want this shirt to be like pretty tightly fitted, so I'm okay with that. I did a total of 54 chains, and I added these stitch markers into the places that they need to be according to the video that I watched. So these are all separated with the stitch markers so that you can see like, okay, the sleeves are going to be made right here, and then the front and the back part of the top is going to be made there. And so for the sleeve sections, it's 9 stitches in between the stitch markers, and in the front there's 16 stitches in between the stitch markers.
So I hope this isn't too small. It fits fine over my head. It takes like a little bit of work to get it off, but not to the point where it's hard to put on or take off. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started.
I went ahead and worked single crochets down the row, making sure that when I reached the stitch marker stitches, I added 1 single crochet, a chain 1, and then 1 more single crochet into the stitch marker stitch. I then took the stitch marker and placed it into the chain space I just created with the chain 1, since it was a bit hard to see. I then moved on with normal single crochet stitches until the next stitch marker. At the end of the row, I slip stitched into the first stitch, chained 1, and turned my work. For the second row, it's worked the exact same as the first row. The only difference is that when I reach the stitch marker section, I add the 1 single crochet, 1 chain, 1 single crochet into the chain 1 space instead of into a specific stitch. I continued this pattern for each row until I reached row 16.
Here is what the top is looking like so far. This is a total of 15 rows, and I am gonna stop it right here so I can go ahead and start the little Barbie logo. So to stop it, all I'm gonna do is for the 16th row, I'm just gonna work until I get right here, and then I'm going to single crochet these 2 parts together and then work around until I get right here, and then do the exact same right there, and then work back into the middle. And then for the 17th row, that's where I'm gonna actually start the Barbie logo. At first I was kind of scared that this wasn't gonna work, but so far it's looking really nice. I'm happy with how it's looking, and I'm excited to see what the Barbie logo is going to look like.
Just as I said, I single crocheted down the row normally until I reached the corner stitch where I would have increased. Instead of increasing, I took the other increase section of the side of the top and pressed it onto the one I was next to. Then single crocheted into them to attach them. This separates the arm from the body of the top. I continued to single crochet down until I reached the other arm, which I repeated the same thing of single crocheting into the increase sections to join them together. Once this was done, I single crocheted the rest of the row normally until it reached the end. I then slip stitched to end the row, chained 1, turned my work, and got ready for the Barbie graph. I first added the graph onto Procreate, where I flipped it upside down and then labeled each of the colors with how many stitches I needed to do for each of the rows. Since the graph is 40 stitches horizontally, I first counted the stitches until I reached the middle stitch where I added a stitch marker. I then counted from the stitch marker to the 20th stitch on the left and added a marker to that stitch. I did the same on the other side, counting from the stitch after the middle stitch marker to the 40th stitch and added a marker. I removed the middle stitch marker and was ready to begin the graph. I first worked with my main color until I reached the stitch marker stitch. Once I reached the stitch marker stitch, I did the amount of stitches with the main color that the graph told me to. The first row of the graph, which works from right to left, starts with 7 stitches of the main color of the shirt. So I worked single crochet with the pink until I finished the 6th stitch. For the 7th stitch, I worked half of a single crochet and then grabbed my white color and attached it. This finishes the 7th stitch and makes it so that the color changes are a lot cleaner before working with the new color. The graph says to work 3 stitches with the second color, so I worked 2 stitches with the white color before working a half a single crochet in the 3rd stitch before switching back to my pink color. The graph now says the next 20 stitches are with my first color, so I worked 19 stitches before switching my colors. Since the white yarn is too far apart from the side where I need to use it again, I pulled out an incredibly large tail of yarn before cutting it off. That way I can use the white yarn on that side when I need to without having to pull it so far away. I attached a new ball of white yarn to the 20th stitch and worked 1 stitch with the white before attaching a new color to the 2nd stitch. I ended the graph row with 8 rows with my pink yarn and made sure that the stitch marker was placed back to the new stitch that was created before finishing the rest of the row with pink. At the end of the row, I slip stitched to end the row, chained 1, and turned my work. I also flipped it inside out so that I work on the inside of the shirt. For the second row, I worked single crochet with the pink down until I reached the first stitch marker. For the second row of the graph, I worked from the left of the graph to the right by first working 7 stitches with the pink. On the 8th stitch, I did half a single crochet before dropping the pink strand on the inside of the shirt instead of the outside like I did in the row prior. I then grabbed the white strand and finished the 8th stitch before working the next set of stitches the graph told me to do, which was 3 stitches with the second color. I repeated the motions of working the stitches according to the graph and switching the colors appropriately, making sure to keep the strands on the inside. For an incredibly in-depth tutorial, I linked an amazing video on how to crochet graphs and grid patterns in the description box below. I continued working on the graph and then added a couple more rows to the bottom of it afterwards. Here is the top with the graph completed and then 6 more rows added before I'm gonna go ahead and do the ribbing parts to make it look a lot better. I love the fit. The fit is absolutely perfect. It looks good. The only thing I'm disappointed in right now is the graph itself. Like, I really thought that it would be more visibly saying Barbie. Like, the B looks perfect, but then once it gets to like the A, the end of the A and then the R and then the B, it's just like, I don't really know what it's saying. And so when I finished the graph, I was thinking I would like edit the graph a bit to add like a little color border and then I'd take it apart, but I really don't feel like taking it apart. I really thought this was gonna look different. I'm so disappointed because I really liked how this was coming out, the shaping, the silhouette, the way it fits. It's so perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna finish it though. I'm gonna add ribbing to both the arms, to the bottom, and to the top just to make it more baby doll tee-ish, and then we'll be done. I added ribbing to the arms, bottom, and top of the shirt by attaching my yarn and chaining 5. I then worked half double crochet down the chain and then slip stitched into the next 3 stitches. After, I flipped my work and worked half double crochet in the back loop only, up the ribbing before chaining 1, turning my work, and repeating these steps for the entire section. Once the ribbing was finished, I slip stitched the entire ribbing together, chained 1, cut the yarn, and pulled to secure. Then, the crop top was complete. The next piece I have in this video is this Barbie crop top. I love how the top came out overall. It's really cute, but the only thing is I personally think that the graph could have been a lot better. I did the graph to the best of my ability, but I just feel like I didn't choose a good enough graph because usually you could see exactly what the graph is, but I think it's a bit hard to read. I showed my boyfriend and he was like, oh, it says Barbie. I knew that automatically. And so that gave me a little bit of hope to continue to put this in the video. I do want to know what you all think about it because this seems like a Barbie themed shirt, and I think this would have worked perfect for the theme if the graph came out a lot better. I would have used a different graph, but it would have been too big for it to just be in the front. But besides all of that, I love how it came out. The top fits absolutely perfect. It's not too tight, not too big. I'm going to be making a lot of these with different graphs, and I think it's really cute. Also, I have 2 more things to say. The first thing is that when I was trying to buy the yarn for this top, I feel like it's probably because the Barbie movie just came out, but there was literally no pink available on anything. All the pinks were gone in the stores, online. All the pink was gone, so I was like, how am I supposed to make my pink video? But obviously it worked out quite well. The second thing I want to say is, do you see how cute these colors are? Like, pink and gray go together so well. And it's like, I know I said earlier about how I'm gonna buy more pink stuff for my wardrobe, but this combo right here is making me like 1000% sure that I'm gonna be adding pink to my wardrobe because these colors go so well together. But yeah, besides the whole Barbie not looking the way I wanted it to, I think it's still really cute. The fit is perfect.
This is what it looks like from the back. I'm definitely going to be making more of these, and I hope you like it too.
The third design I decided to do is a Hello Kitty floor pillow. I thought including Hello Kitty would work perfectly for a pink theme, and this is actually a project I've been wanting to work on for the past couple of months, so I'm using this as a little excuse to do so. For the top panel of the pillow, I started with a chain of 52. After chaining 52, I worked 2 rows of single crochet before getting ready to start the graph. For the graph, I counted down the rows to find the middle stitch, which was the 25th stitch counting from the left. I then counted from the middle to the side to figure out where the graph will start. The graph is 41 stitches long, so I divided 31 by 2, which gave me 20.5. So I placed a stitch marker in the 5th stitch and the 45th stitch from the left, which gave me 20 stitches in between the stitch markers. I then removed the middle stitch marker and single crocheted until I got to the first stitch marker. At the stitch marker, I started on the first row of the graph from right to left, which was 19 stitches with my background color. After working 18 stitches, the graph told me to do 2 stitches with my second pink color. For the 19th stitch with the background color, I only finished half a single crochet before adding my second pink color to my hook to finish the single crochet. Doing this attaches the new color so that it'll be ready for the upcoming stitches that I have to do. I did 1 stitch with the new color, and then for the second stitch, I switched to my old color halfway through the single crochet so that the color would be attached for the next stitches I needed to do. The graph says I have to do 20 stitches with my background color, so I worked 20 single crochets down the row until my stitch marker stitch, which is the 20th stitch. After working into the stitch marker stitch, I replaced the stitch marker to the new row and finished the row off normally. I chained 1 and turned my work and started to work the second row of the graph. For the second row of the graph, which is going to be the wrong side of the project, I start from the left to the right of the second row of the project. I first single crocheted until I reached the stitch marker stitch. Once I did, I checked the graph, which says to crochet 18 stitches. So I first worked the first stitch into the stitch marker stitch and then replaced the stitch marker on the new stitch. Then I worked the rest of the stitches. On the 18th stitch, I did half a single crochet before taking my second pink color and adding it to finish the single crochet, making sure that the tails of the yarn is facing the inside of the graph since it's the wrong side of the panel. I worked the second pink for 6 stitches, switching to the first pink color on the last stitch for the next set of stitches on the graph. I continued until I reached the stitch marker stitch, where I finished the last stitch of the graph, added the stitch marker back, and then finished off the row. For a much better explanation on crochet graphs, I linked an amazing tutorial in the description box below. I continued working the Hello Kitty graph into the panel for the next couple of hours until the graph was complete. I just finished the entire front panel for the pillow, and I added a bit more rows up here than I did down here. I did 2 rows down here, did the graph, and then did 4 rows up here. And now I'm just gonna work on the sides and then use whatever for the bottom. But the thing is, I'm kind of worried that I might not be able to do all the sides because I only have this much yarn left, and with chunky yarn, it goes by so fast with crochet. However, I am gonna do like a little stripe thing, so it's gonna be like the pink and then the white and then back to pink on the sides. So I think I'll have enough, but I can't make the pillow any bigger, but I think this is a good size anyway compared to this pillow that I have right here that I made. So we'll see how it goes. For the short sides of the pillow, I chained 21 with the pink, then did 5 rows with pink before switching to white for 5 rows. I went back and forth for a total of 37 rows for the short sides. I finished the side panels with the main pink that I was using, but unfortunately I ran out, and if I order some more, it's going to take like 2 to 3 weeks to get here, and that's just not going to work for me. So just in case, I got these from Michael's. It's a weight 5 yarn, and I'll have to double it, but I don't think that's going to be enough to finish both sides of the long sides of the pillow, so I might have to go back to Michael's and get 2 more, as well as 2 more of the white, because I was using a weight 5 white instead of a weight 6 white,
and I've been doubling them this whole time so that it can be the same as everything else on the pillow.
For the long sides of the pillow, I chained 21 again with the pink and repeated the pattern of 5 rows of each color for a total of 51 rows. For the back panel, I couldn't care less what colors I used since it wasn't the focal point at all, so I used all the yarn that was left over to finish it. The pattern was the exact same as the front panel, minus the Hello Kitty design, which starts with the 52 chain and goes on for 37 rows. Once all the panels were complete, I turned them onto their wrong sides and then began to slip stitch all the sides of the side panels together. Once they were attached in a square, I took the Hello Kitty panel and placed it wrong side up onto the top of the connected side panels and slip stitched it to the top. After the Hello Kitty part was done, I turned it over and repeated slip stitching the wrong side onto the side panels, but made sure to leave a gap so that I'd be able to pull the pillow right side out. After the pillow was on the right side, I took all my scrap yarn and stuffed it inside. After, I added 2 packs of classic fiber fill and stuffed it inside, making sure to break it apart a bit so I can spread it easily around the inside of the pillow. If you're going to make this, I personally recommend at least 4 bags instead of 2, and I made sure to leave a little indication of where I finished slip stitching the bottom so that if I want to add more filling to it, I can do so. But once the pillow was filled, I slip stitched the rest of the gap closed, and the Hello Kitty pillow was complete.
This next piece is my absolute favorite in this video, and it is my Hello Kitty pillow. Woo! Look how big this is! Like, I thought this was gonna be 10 times smaller, but for some reason it's gigantic. But we love huge pillows in this household, so I'm okay with it. But this came out so cute. I messed up on the nose a little bit, and right here I was supposed to add this color, but I added the white instead. But besides those mistakes, it looks really cute. If you can see, I ran out of yarn. Like, the bottom is like a darker shade of pink rather than the ones on the sides, which is the lighter shade. And then on the top, I just combined 2 shades because I did not have enough yarn. And then in the back is just a combination of all my leftover yarn, but it doesn't matter because the back is on the floor. I am gonna fill this in more. I left a little, I don't know if you can see it hanging. I left this tail out so that when I get more stuffing, I can fill it in more so it can be more firm rather than squishy, because eventually it's gonna kind of lose its shape the more I sit on it. So I wanna add as much stuffing as I can to it so that it can maintain its shape. Oh, I really need to get back in the gym, oh my goodness. But yeah, this is the Hello Kitty pillow. I'm so in love with it. I've been wanting to make this for a couple months now, and I'm so happy I was finally able to make it and see what it looks like in real life. And this is my favorite piece in the video, so I hope you like it.
This last design can fit into any of the categories since it's versatile and cute. This last design was supposed to be a cardigan based off of Paris Barbie, but the pattern I wanted to go for was incredibly similar to the Coquette sweater I did earlier, so I decided to scrap it and go for an accessory. To create the giant bow, I first chained 2. I then worked a half double crochet into the first stitch before chaining 1 and turning my work. I then went ahead and worked 2 half double crochets into the stitch before chaining 1 and turning my work. From here, on every row, I worked normal half double crochets down the row, but on the last stitch, I added 2 to create an increase stitch. Then, after chaining 1 and turning my work, I increased into the first stitch, which was the last stitch in the previous row. If you're making this, you always want to increase into the same stitch no matter the row. I created increase rows until row 16. Then from row 16 to 89, I worked half double crochets down each row normally with no increases. After I reached row 89, I half double crocheted normally until I reached the last 2 stitches. To decrease, I worked half a half double crochet into the second to last stitch, and then inserted my hook into the last stitch, yarned over, and pulled through before yarning over again and pulling through all the loops on my hook. I then chained 1, turned my work, and repeated this in the first 2 stitches of the next row before working the row normally. I repeated these decreases until there was 2 stitches left on row 104. Then I worked a decrease into the 2 stitches, chained 1, cut the yarn, and pulled to secure. To fold the bow, I just tied it in a bunny ears fashion by taking each side and making loops with them and then folding them together before pushing one of the loops into the little hole in the middle. I made sure to adjust the hoops to the way that I wanted it to look, and when it came out how I wanted, I added a little hair clip to the back of the knot in the middle so that I could easily attach it to my hair whenever I wanted.
The last piece that I have to show is this cute giant bow tie. This was so last minute, like I finished this yesterday before I planned to start editing this video. Originally it was 4 items in this video, but then I was like, one of them looks like I'm just doing one twice. So I took it out and it was just going to be 3 pieces for this video, but then I randomly decided to do this giant bow, which brought it back up to 4 again. And I did need an accessory since it is required to do at least 1 accessory in these color crochet videos. So I think I met the requirements. This is what it looks like in the back. Hopefully that looked okay. But yeah, I really like this bow. It's really cute. This could fit either in the Barbie theme, Coquette theme, Sanrio theme. Like, it's just a bow, and depending on like what shade of pink, you can switch it to each theme. So this is the bow. It's a bit crooked. The first time I tied it, it was perfect, but then I didn't record it, so I took it apart and tied it again, and it's crooked now, but it's okay. And then I added this little clip. You can use any clip that you think will stay in the bow and that'll attach in your hair correctly. And it doesn't have to exclusively go in your hair. Like, it can go like on a shirt if you want it to, just as a little statement accessory, or you can add it to any of your plushies and stuff like that. So this is a pretty versatile little accessory, and it's very easy to do. I finished it in like 1 to 2 hours, probably less than that. I don't really keep track. But this is the bow, and I'm really happy with it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed all of these pieces. Sorry if it doesn't meet your expectations all that well, but I'm pretty happy with the pieces, so hopefully you are too. With that said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!